Ladies and gentlemen, if life feels too hard right now, you're not alone. There are moments when the weight of the world feels unbearable, when every step forward seems to be met with resistance, when your efforts go unnoticed, your dreams feel distant, and the voice in your head whispers, "What's the point?" If life feels too hard right now, it's easy to assume something has gone terribly wrong. We live in a world that often equates comfort with success and hardship with failure. But that perception couldn't be further from the truth. Struggles, setbacks, and challenges are not signs that you're broken or lost. They're a natural part of the path forward. Every worthwhile journey comes with its share of obstacles. They are not detours. They are part of the map. When you look at the people who have accomplished anything meaningful, you'll find a common thread. Not an easy life, but a life filled with moments that tested them, refined them, and demanded more of them than they thought they had to give. Growth does not occur in the absence of pressure. Comfort zones never produce greatness. The pain you're feeling, the resistance you're facing, the inner doubts you're battling, they are the fires in which strength is forged. There is no shortcut around this. If you are in a season of hardship, you are in the exact place where transformation becomes possible. The truth is, hardship is a universal language. Everyone meets it, no matter their background, talent, or ambition. What separates those who rise from those who give up is not the difficulty of the journey, it's how they respond to it. When life feels heavy, when things fall apart, it's easy to shrink, to question your worth, to believe the lie that you're not capable. But struggle is not evidence of your inadequacy, it's proof that you are being stretched into your potential. Even nature tells this story. The seed must break to grow. The butterfly must fight to emerge. The storm must rage before the sky clears. Nothing beautiful arrives without first moving through the process of becoming. So why do we expect our lives to be different? Why do we expect our dreams to come easily, our purpose to unfold without resistance, our goals to be achieved without sacrifice? The path is not easy because the reward is not small. Hardship strips away what doesn't matter. It reveals who you really are. It shows you what you're made of, what you value, what you'll fight for. It teaches lessons no book ever could. In the fire of difficulty, your excuses melt, your fears get tested, and your true strength is brought to the surface. It's where resolve is born. It's where grit is developed. It's where clarity emerges. Most people want the results of growth without the cost of it, but the cost is the very thing that makes the result valuable. If everything came easy, nothing would mean anything. Struggle gives meaning to success. Sacrifice gives weight to victory. The reason life feels hard right now might not be because something is wrong, but because something is being built. Within you and around you, you are being carved into someone capable of carrying more, doing more, and becoming more than you were yesterday. Progress is a quiet force. It doesn't always arrive with fanfare or dramatic breakthroughs. Often it shows up disguised as routine, disguised as struggle, disguised as the days when you feel like you're moving in circles. One of the biggest lies people believe is that progress has to be loud, obvious, or instantly rewarding. But real progress, the kind that lasts, the kind that changes you at your core, is often invisible in the moment it happens behind the scenes, while no one is watching, and even when you're doubting whether it's happening at all. We're conditioned to associate movement with speed, growth with visibility, and improvement with praise. But life doesn't always reflect that narrative. Sometimes progress looks like getting out of bed when you didn't want to. It looks like showing up for yourself when motivation is gone. It looks like making a better decision than you did yesterday, even if no one notices. These small, seemingly insignificant choices are the bricks that build a foundation of something bigger. They are quiet victories, and they count more than most people realize. When you're in the thick of a hard season, it's easy to overlook these moments. You don't feel triumphant, you feel tired. You don't feel like you're making progress, you feel like you're barely holding on. But just because progress is silent doesn't mean it's absent. Just because you can't see the change doesn't mean it isn't happening. Much like seeds planted in soil, growth often begins underground. It starts where the eye cannot see, where effort meets patience, where persistence meets faith. The truth is, change doesn't always feel like change. It often feels like frustration. It feels like failing forward, trying again, and pushing through the discomfort of uncertainty. There's a mental and emotional restructuring that takes place long before results appear. It's in the mindset you build, the habits you create, the character you shape. That internal groundwork is progress, even if there are no external signs of success. Yet, comparison often kills our ability to see this. You look around and see someone else's highlight reel, their success, their milestones, and you assume they're ahead while you're stuck. But you're not stuck. You're building. You're doing the unseen work. You're showing up day by day, laying the foundation for a life that will be stronger and more meaningful because it wasn't handed to you. It was earned moment by moment in silence. Progress is not always about making massive leaps. It's about forward motion, no matter how slow. It's about choosing growth over comfort, discipline over impulse, and hope over doubt. It's about continuing when quitting seems easier, trusting when you have no evidence, and believing in the value of the small step. Most of the time, the shift happens inside you, long before the world sees the result. You become stronger, wiser, more focused, not in loud victories, but in the quiet commitment to keep going despite how hard it feels. Adversity is not the enemy of strength, it is its birthplace. The human spirit was never designed to grow in ease and comfort. True resilience, true courage, and true capability emerge only when we are pushed beyond what we thought we could handle. When life delivers pain, loss, rejection, or failure, it's not punishing us. It's presenting us with the exact conditions necessary for strength to be developed. Just as muscles grow only through tension and resistance, so too does our inner strength grow through the weight of challenge. When we're in the middle of hardship, it rarely feels like something good is happening. It feels chaotic, overwhelming, sometimes unbearable. But if you trace the story of anyone who has ever achieved greatness, overcome obstacles, or become deeply rooted in wisdom, you will find moments, sometimes entire seasons, of adversity that broke them open and reshaped them from the inside out. Strength doesn't come from smooth paths. It comes from surviving what was meant to break you. It comes from standing up one more time than you fell down. Think of the most unshakable people you've ever met. They didn't become that way by accident. They earned their strength through sleepless nights, heartbreaks, failures, and moments when giving up would have been easier than pressing on. They became strong because life demanded it. They faced their fears. They endured loss. They learned how to bend without breaking. And through every challenge, they discovered more of who they truly were. Of adversity has a way of stripping away the superficial, the distractions, the things that don't matter. It forces us to confront our limits and, in doing so, shows us that those limits are far more flexible than we believed. The storm does not come to destroy you. It comes to reveal parts of you that you didn't know existed. It shows you the fire in your soul, the grit in your heart, and the power of your will. You don't just survive adversity. You become something new because of it. There is no strength without struggle. We want to be brave, but we don't want to be scared. We want to be wise, but we don't want to fail. We want to be strong, but we don't want to be tested. Yet every valuable trait we admire in others, patience, discipline, empathy, tenacity, was born out of difficulty. Life does not shape you in moments of ease. It molds you in moments of resistance. The pain you experience is not pointless. It is part of the process of becoming unshakable. The moment adversity hits, your first instinct may be to resist it, to escape it, to wish it away. But adversity is not something to run from. It's something to move through. The very thing you're trying to avoid might be the exact thing that is preparing you for what you've been asking for. Strength is built in real time through real pain with real consequences. It cannot be handed to you. It must be earned through the battles you face and the decisions you make in the midst of them. Falling is a part of life. It's unavoidable. No one is exempt from failure, disappointment, or heartbreak. But what defines a person is not whether they fall, it's whether they rise. The world often glamorizes success, portraying it as a straight line from idea to achievement, from dream to reality. But the truth is far more complex. Success is built on setbacks. It's stitched together from broken moments, detours, and hard-fought recovery. The ability to rise after falling is what separates those who reach their goals from those who abandon them. There's a certain kind of power in getting back up when everything in you wants to stay down, when the voices in your head scream that it's over, when the weight of discouragement feels too heavy to carry, and yet you choose to stand. There's strength in that moment that can't be measured. It's easy to move forward when everything is going well. It's easy to believe in yourself when the path is smooth and the rewards are immediate. But the real test of your character comes when you've hit the ground and have to decide whether or not to rise. Life will knock you down more than once. It will challenge your resolve and force you to confront your limits. But falling doesn't mean you're weak. It means you tried. It means you are in the arena. It means you cared enough to risk something. And each time you get back up, you're not starting from zero. You're starting from experience. You rise with more wisdom, more resilience, more perspective than before. You carry with you the lessons the fall taught you. There's dignity in struggle. There's honor in refusing to quit. Rising isn't about pretending you're not hurt or ignoring the pain. It's about acknowledging the difficulty and choosing to continue anyway. It's about standing in the middle of your mess and deciding that your story doesn't end here. You don't need to be perfect to rise. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take the next step, however shaky, however slow. Each time you rise, you chip away at the lie that you're not strong enough. You silence the fear that tells you it's too late. And over time, those small decisions to rise become your foundation. They become proof that you're capable of enduring more than you imagined. They build the kind of strength that doesn't waver with the winds of adversity. Falling may be a chapter, but rising is the theme that shapes the story. It's not about avoiding failure. It's about building the capacity to move forward after it. It's about becoming someone who doesn't measure success by how few times they've fallen, but by how many times they've refused to stay down. Rising is a mindset, a choice, a habit formed in the shadows and solidified in the light. Life often brings us moments that feel unbearable. In those moments, it's natural to question everything, your purpose, your path, your worth. You begin to wonder if you're being punished, if the universe is somehow against you, if you're being singled out for suffering while others seem to glide through life untouched. But what if the hard moments aren't evidence of punishment at all? What if they're evidence of preparation? What if what you're going through right now is not meant to break you, but to build something in you that easy circumstances never could? When life feels like a storm, when everything is uncertain and out of your control, it can be difficult to see beyond the pain. But growth doesn't happen in the stillness of comfort. It happens when you are pushed, tested, and stretched. It happens in those moments when you're forced to dig deeper, to uncover strength you didn't know you had, to develop patience, discipline, and clarity. These aren't traits born from ease. They are earned through resistance, through struggle, through the repeated decision to keep going even when the path makes no sense. Preparation is uncomfortable because it reshapes you. It asks more of you than you plan to give. It demands that you shed the version of yourself that was content with less. It challenges the small ideas you had about your capacity. The discomfort you feel isn't a signal that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that you're being called into more, into a higher standard, a higher vision, a deeper understanding of who you are and what you're capable of carrying. Often, when we are being prepared for something greater, we are also being stripped of things that no longer serve us. Old habits, limiting beliefs, distractions, even relationships that don't align with our purpose. They begin to fall away. It feels like loss, but it's really alignment. It's really the process of clearing space for what's coming. You cannot take everything with you into the next season of your life. Sometimes what feels like being torn apart is actually the process of being put together in a stronger, more intentional way. There are things you're meant to carry in this life. Dreams, responsibilities, relationships, opportunities that require a version of you that is resilient, focused, and deeply rooted. That version of you can't be built in soft conditions. It's built in fire. It's built in long nights and early mornings, in unanswered prayers and delayed outcomes. Preparation doesn't always look like progress. It looks like pressure, but that pressure has a purpose. It's refining you, sharpening your vision, strengthening your resolve. What you're going through may feel confusing, unfair, even cruel, but what if it's training? What if it's a necessary part of equipping you for the very thing you've been asking for? The higher the calling, the heavier the weight. The greater the purpose, the more demanding the preparation. You don't train for a sprint the same way you train for a marathon. We're often taught to associate struggle with failure. From a young age, we're conditioned to believe that when things become difficult, we must be doing something wrong. That if the path is hard, we've taken a wrong turn. But the truth is, struggle is not a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you're growing. Struggle doesn't mean you're off course. It often means you're exactly where you need to be. When you stretch beyond what's familiar, when you step into the unknown, when you pursue something bigger than yourself, struggle becomes part of the process. Struggle is the tension that forms between who you are and who you're becoming. It arises when you begin to shift out of your old patterns and step into unfamiliar territory. This friction, this discomfort is not a mistake. It's the very evidence that transformation is taking place. The moment you try to break free from limitations, life will test your commitment. It will challenge your discipline, your focus, your resilience. And it will feel like a struggle because it is. You are dismantling old structures and building new ones. That is never easy, but it is necessary. There is a natural resistance to change, even when the change is good. Your mind and body crave familiarity, safety, routine. So when you choose to grow, when you decide to reach for something greater, you invite resistance. That resistance is not a sign to stop, it's a sign to keep going. It means you're pushing the edge of your current capacity. It means you're moving from comfort to courage. The presence of struggle does not indicate that you're lost. It shows that you are doing something meaningful, something that matters. When people look back on the seasons of their life that shaped them most, they rarely point to the times when everything was easy. They remember the struggle. They remember the sleepless nights, the moments of doubt, the days when they kept going, even though they had every reason to quit. Those moments become milestones. They become defining chapters, not because they were free of pain, but because they were full of purpose. Struggle has a way of refining what you value. It forces you to be honest about your priorities. It strips away distractions and leaves you face to face with what truly matters. It also teaches you to appreciate the wins, not because they came easily, but because you fought for them. There's a depth of gratitude that comes only through effort. There's a kind of pride that comes not from perfection, but from perseverance. Resilience is not something that arrives when life is smooth and predictable. It is born in the middle of discomfort, forged in the heat of challenge, and shaped by every difficult moment you choose to face instead of flee from. Comfort may feel good in the short term, but it rarely builds anything of lasting value. It creates ease, but not endurance. It offers rest, but not readiness. Real strength is built when you push yourself beyond what feels safe, when you persist in the face of uncertainty, and when you commit to growth even when it hurts. Life has a way of confronting us with situations that demand more than we think we have to give. These are the moments where resilience is formed. When things fall apart, when plans fail, when the road becomes unclear, that's when you're given the chance to discover what lives beneath the surface. It's in those moments that you learn what you're really made of. Not when everything is going right, but when everything seems to be going wrong and you still choose to move forward. Resilience is not about being fearless. It's not about pretending that nothing affects you or that you never feel pain. It's about choosing to stand tall when your knees are shaking. It's about finding a way to keep moving even if all you can manage is one small step at a time. It's the ability to bend without breaking, to be bruised but not defeated. And the only way to develop that kind of inner power is through experience, through walking through fire and refusing to let it consume you. Choosing resilience over comfort means embracing the truth that growth is uncomfortable. It means allowing yourself to feel the weight of your challenges without letting them define you. It means staying in the process even when it's messy, even when there are no guarantees. It means being patient with your progress, understanding that strength takes time to develop. You don't become resilient in a day. It's a slow, deliberate process that is built every time you say no to giving up. People often wait for motivation to arrive before they act. But resilience doesn't depend on inspiration. It depends on decision. You decide to keep going. You decide to stay in the fight. You decide that your future is worth the struggle it takes to reach it. And over time, those decisions compound. They shape your mindset. They fortify your character. They give you the confidence that no matter what comes, you can handle it. Comfort zones are where dreams go to sleep. Resilience wakes them up. It pulls you out of complacency. It demands action. It calls for more from you because it knows you are capable of more. The path of resilience isn't easy, but it is rewarding. Every time you choose to endure instead of escape, to grow instead of retreat, you build a foundation that no amount of pressure can shake. You become rooted in strength not because life gave it to you, but because you earned it through every hard step you refuse to skip. Every storm eventually passes. That's a truth we often forget when we're in the middle of one. Pain has a way of making time feel endless. Struggle has a way of distorting perspective, convincing us that this is how things will always be. When you're deep in hardship, it's easy to believe that the darkness will never lift, that the weight will never ease, that you'll always feel lost or broken or behind. But time is not still, and life is not static. Just as seasons change, so too do circumstances, emotions, and experiences. No storm lasts forever, and no pain is permanent. Even when the skies feel endlessly gray, even when the wind won't let up, there is always movement happening, movement that you may not be able to see yet. Sometimes change begins in the smallest ways. A new thought, a renewed sense of determination, a tiny shift in how you respond to your situation. The healing might not be loud, the breakthrough might not be dramatic, but it's there, quietly unfolding in the background while you keep showing up. When you're in a difficult season, your mind will try to convince you that this is your final destination. It will whisper doubts, echo fears, replay failures. But those thoughts are not truth. They are just a reaction to pressure. They are a natural response to a temporary state. You are not stuck. You are growing. You are not defeated, you are being developed. And even when you can't feel it, even when progress is invisible, the storm is moving. Life is in motion, and nothing stays the same forever. It's in the waiting that we often grow the most. Waiting builds patience. It builds trust. It forces you to look inward, to strengthen what's inside rather than depending on what's happening outside. You begin to realize that your peace doesn't have to be tied to your circumstances, that you can find stillness even in the chaos, that the storm doesn't get to decide who you become, you do. And with every breath you take, with every choice you make to stay grounded, you inch closer to the clearing. Eventually, you'll wake up and the heaviness will be gone. The fog will lift and clarity will return. What once felt like a never-ending struggle will become a memory, one that shaped you, refined you, and reminded you of your strength. You'll look back and see how far you've come, not because the path was easy, but because you didn't give up in the middle of it. You'll understand that the storm didn't last, but your courage did. And that courage is what carried you through. It's easy to lose sight of hope when the storm clouds gather. But hope is not dependent on perfect conditions. Hope is a decision to believe that better is possible, even when the evidence is not yet visible. It's a quiet confidence, a steady voice that says, keep going. This won't last forever, because it won't.